All right, it's time for the Myopia Mindset. This is your weekly shot in the arm for motivation, inspiration, education on your way to success with myopia management. And I have on with me Dr. Cheryl Chapman once again. She is the Chief Medical Officer and co-founder of Peak Pro. She is practicing out of Gretna Eye and Aesthetics over in Nebraska, and she is a fellow and just concluded her term as president of the American Academy of Orthokeratology and Myopia Control. Cheryl, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me back, Matthew.
There's a lot I want to talk about in this episode, but first I want to get to the Academy itself, the AAOMC, because, just as full disclosure, I was executive director of the AAOMC until 2022, and we had this weird issue back then. I don't know if we have it still now, where Vision by Design became an industry standard as a meeting. Everybody knew about it. But AAOMC was kind of like the best kept secret in our industry for some reason. And I want to get the word out about what it is. And let's talk about why it is so integral to the industry, because I think that the AAOMC as a practitioner first organization is absolutely essential in the myopia industry.
Yeah. So AAOMC, it's a mouthful, right?
Mm-hmm.
American Academy of Orthokeratology and Myopia Control. And it's interesting to hear you talk about it as being a best kept secret, because Vision by Design, people know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Most people know what that is, but what is the AAOMC? It's the organization that puts it on. It's the board members that, find the lectures and, build the education track, and for you to also say it's a doctor first organization, that's true. So the mission of the AAOMC is to make sure that we are providing unbiased education. And that's important because when you look at a lot of other education that's out there, a lot of times it is biased by a company that has financial interest in that, whether it's a contact lens manufacturer or equipment manufacturer, whatever. AAOMC brings research and they help dive into all the studies that are being done, and they try and figure out what are the hottest topics. We understand that the myopia management spectacle lenses are coming to the scene soon. And so we have included that in our last conference, and we're going to be including even more of that in our next conference to make sure that doctors have everything at their fingertips to be as fully prepared as possible for when those things launch here.
Yeah. And I want to impress on the audience how important the Academy is for everything that we do. And to speak to what you just said, Cheryl, about, the AAOMC has always had a position of advocacy for the clinicians, for practitioners. And I can remember, way back in the day when we were just a fledgling organization and we put on one of our first meetings. It was like a small, workshop driven meeting, less than 100 people there, but everybody was super hungry. And we had sponsor involvement. And I'm not going to go into names or who it was or whatever the case may be, because it's in the past and the industry is different now. But I remember that meeting specifically because there was a company that decided that, according to some research they had done, that doctors should only be charging X amount for their services for orthokeratology, and that they had decided that a lot more lenses would be sold if that price was brought down. And that went against the Academy's directive to advocate for the industry as a whole. So it created this really interesting and kind of awkward moment at that first meeting of ours where we had to get on stage and say, what that person said, we don't agree with, and you should be charging what you think is appropriate. And it created a conflict. Now, those conflicts have been resolved. The industry is different now. But I think people need to understand that that is what the AAOMC is doing for our industry all the time. Would you agree with them?
I would definitely agree with that. Obviously we can't talk prices when we can't be really specific on talking prices when we're on stage and things like that. But a lot of what you get when you're part of the AAOMC is you get a network of doctors that you can talk to individually, either via an email with them or a phone call, or when you go to the conference and it's coffee break and you're just meeting people and talking to them and asking them, like, certainly those things are talked about then. And that's when you figure out, okay, well, what are the pros and cons of doing an annual fee or a 2-year global fee or a la carte or a subscription program? I want to do a subscription program. How do I do that? So a lot of the value comes from practitioners talking to other practitioners whose feet are on the ground and they're in the thick of it and they've had experience with what worked, what didn't work, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And one of the huge benefits of membership with the AAOMC is access to the Academy's Google group, which is an invaluable resource. Like, I have watched other discussion groups, social media specifically, like there's Facebook groups devoted to myopia management. The Academy has a Facebook group. And sometimes people will put cases or case questions up in those forums, and they'll get a little bit of response or whatever the case may be. But if you have access to the Google group, if you're a member and you ask those kinds of questions, you get input from docs from all over the world. At the time that we're recording this, which is in late February, there's currently a great discussion about a case that a member brought to the group. And just to watch the input from all of these experts all over the world, well, I would do custom this, or you could fit it with this design, or if you ran into this, it's like been fascinating to watch. So I want to point that out, like the benefits of the AAOMC. Let's go into that. In addition to the Google group, what else does the AAOMC offer in its membership?
Well, one of my favorite things about it is the doctor finder. So whenever I see a post on a Facebook group of somebody saying, I'm looking for a practitioner in XYZ state or wherever, I will frequently put a link in there that says, check the doctor finder on AAOMC. And so you can put in, how many providers there are that are members that are within certain miles of your zip code or whatnot. And I think that's good for the communities to know this. That's good for patients who are looking to be able to use the doctor finder, because some of the groups I'm on are community pages where there's patients on there. So that's one thing. But then another thing is, if I have a patient who's moving and they are in myopia management and I want to know who to refer them to, I'm going to go to an AAOMC doctor. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I know they have committed to understanding the newest trends and the newest treatments available. And I know that they're on top of it. So always, without a doubt, I'm sending them to an AAOMC doctor.
Yeah, an AAOMC member is somebody who is so driven to myopia management that they are compelled to be a part of this community and help support its mission and further its cause. And you can use that as a source of like trust that, like, your patient is going to a good doctor. It's going to be a quality referral. And the other thing about membership that I don't think gets utilized enough, to be perfectly honest, I used to say this when I was the executive director, is how many patients know that their doctor is a member of the AAOMC. It doesn't get positioned as often as it should. I'm not an optometrist, but if I was, I would tell every patient, like, I am a member of an organization that stretches over the globe, because the AAOMC is part of an international group overall that is entirely focused on myopia management. And we, eat and breathe this stuff. We have a whole forum online where we discuss the latest trends and research.
There's a lot of value to that. Honestly, I do that in my own practice. My patients, a lot of my patients know my heavy level of involvement with the AAOMC. And it's fun because they're proud of me for it, right? They feel special that they get to be my patient, that they get to be a patient of someone who's working so hard on something that's so new and cutting edge. So I think, yes, making sure that the patients are aware of the doctor involvement is really a valuable practice builder. And it also differentiates you from any other doctors in your area who are dabbling and not necessarily doing it right. I mean, I still get patients that come in and, they want a second opinion and their child has been on 0.01% atropine as monotherapy. And anybody in the AAOMC knows that's old news. Like, we don't do that anymore. But you still see a lot of doctors doing it who aren't as up to date on the newest stuff. So that's good. You asked, Matthew, you asked what other membership value is there. We have on our website, under the doctor area, you can find stuff that you can use in your practice, like branded materials. You can find stuff that helps you have handouts without having to create it yourself. You can have access to like informed consents, stuff like that. So when doctors are like, hey, how do I get started? Like, putting new protocols in place can be really daunting and can be really time consuming. So that's a big value of the AAOMC, is to be able to have access to that kind of stuff. And then another thing that we redid our website a couple years ago, and we put like a career finder on there as well. So if you have a doctor who is wanting to find an associate who's going to be really good at myopia management, or if you are an associate looking for a doctor to work for, there's a kind of a matching tool, a job matching tool available now too.
That's awesome. Yeah. And the Vision by Design meeting is another thing that I'm surprised more people don't tell their patients about. They go to this meeting, it's an incredible experience. And when they get back, they should tell their patients, like, hey, did you know what I did last weekend? I went to this amazing, myopia management meeting where like the top doctors from all over the world meet to discuss this stuff. And I'm a part of this organization that makes this meeting happen, because I think that's another underutilized or overlooked aspect of the membership. Like, the AAOMC members have contributed so much to the industry through the academy itself. The terminology of myopia management and its importance in the industry is a contribution from the AAOMC membership. Like, policy has been changed, like the culture of our industry has been changed because of doctors like Cheryl Chapman and other members of the AAOMC. And I think that's incredible. Like, you can be a part of a lasting change that affects the industry as a whole.
It's definitely an exciting time to be an eye doctor.
Yeah.
Today's eye doctors get to be part of this historic movement.
Yes.
And that's kind of a privilege and an honor, and also super exciting at the same time. So,
yeah, I myself am a member of the AAOMC. I always will be. I love the academy. I love Vision by Design. And if anyone wants to find out more information about the academy, how can they do so?
You can simply go to aaomc.org.